like to call the Board of Public Works meeting of May 30th, 2017 to order. First, just ask if anyone is recording this other than LCAT. And I see Ben
Yes.
for the minutes.
That's correct.
All right. First is to review and approve the minutes of the May 10th, 2017 meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of May 10th, 2017.
Before we go, can I just, I meant to say this, one of our board members, Tom Wilson, is not here tonight. His father passed away yesterday unexpectedly. I'd just like to, if we could, have a moment of silence. Tom Wilson Sr. was a member of the planning board for probably a dozen years, and has been was a resident of East Long Meadow for about 50 years. So if we can, before we start the meeting, we'll just have a moment of silence for Mr. Wilson. All right, let's go back to So we've got a motion on the floor and seconded for approve the minutes of the May 10th, 2017 meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next we'll go right to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to give the board an update on a couple of items. We've talked in the past about this year's streets that we'll be looking at paving being Kibbe Road and Mill Road. We have submitted the request for funding to Mass DOT that went out last week. I'm working with Mike Warner to wrap up the bid documents and hope to have that wrapped up in the next week or so that as soon as we get the go-ahead from Mass DOT, we should be able to put that project out to bid. And again, that'll be paving end-to-end Kibbe Road, combination of some milling work to improve the cross-section on Kibbe Road where we've got some relatively flat sections, some under-drain work, and then overlay of the entire street. And then on Mill Road, similar type of thing, primarily overlay, but there may be some milling work there as well to improve the cross-section. Definitely some shimming because there's some low points in that roadway that need to be corrected before we can do an overlay. That at this point, I believe, is going to leave us enough funding to likely do a round of crack sealing this, most likely this fall. The summertime isn't a very good time to do crack sealing, but early fall, late summer is the ideal time. And then depending on what monies might be left, I've had a number of requests for portions of a number of small side streets that are in fairly rough shape. The end of Rankin Ave, for instance, is in real tough shape. There won't be a lot of money available, but if there is some money available, once the bids come in, we may be able to address some really bad areas in a couple of places like we did on Pease Road last year, where we didn't do the entire street, but we focused on just the problem areas. We did get quotes. I think I talked about line striping. We received quotes from the two firms that do most of that work these days, Markings Incorporated and Highway Safety Systems. They both came in very close to each other. Highway Safety Systems was a little bit cheaper, so we'll be going with them. Splitting that project about $15,000, about half of the work to be done in this fiscal year and half of it to be done in next fiscal year, since we have the ability to fit about half of that work in our current operating budget. We've talked in the past about the medical office facility project at the corner of Dwight Road and Maple Street. We did receive a preliminary set of plans for the skilled nursing facility replacement, and then conversion of the existing building to a assisted living facility, and that's where the existing skilled nursing facility is. And essentially they're looking to build a completely new skilled nursing facility with about the same number of beds, and then convert the existing building to an assisted living facility on that same location. And then the medical office facilities will be across the town line in Long Meadow. We have not yet seen the final submittal, but the final submittal will be coming into the planning board sometime in the near future, I expect, for that. As most people in town probably know by now, the carnival is back on for this year. The town is now taking a more active role in overseeing the activities, working directly with the carnival company to make that happen. The dates of the carnival have been set to be between 6/29 and July 3rd. We're still trying to work out the dates in which the fields will need to be closed to activity, and I just spoke with Ryan Quimby, who was overseeing the activities on the town's behalf a few minutes ago. And he's optimistic that we'll be able to avoid having to close the fields down for the weekend prior to the July 4th weekend, so that we could get in there on Monday, mow the fields, get the protective fencing in. The carnival contractor could come in on Monday or Tuesday, start setting up and be ready for the 29th, and then have them break down at the end of the fourth weekend, so that we and the Recreation Department really only lose one weekend's use of that field, ideally, as opposed to having 2 or possibly 3 weekends, depending on how that gets timed. As a result of the town coordinating the activities of the fireworks, which I believe are going to be held, sponsored by the Rotary, the town is likely going to have a larger role in things such as some of the activity of the fencing setup and things like that for the fireworks, which typically we haven't been involved in the past. But given that the Rotary will be providing the fundraising, hopefully, for the fireworks, the town will then be kicking in some support and labor to make it happen as well. I expect by the time we get to our next meeting, we'll hear a little bit more about this, but we are gearing up this Thursday to make the temporary changes to the Rotary on the Maple Street entrance to the Rotary. And there's a copy of the sketch in your packet that is what you saw probably in the reminder, and you may have seen elsewhere, where the game plan is really at the encouragement of the Chief D'Alessio to try to improve the safety of that approach on the Rotary, which is probably the location where there's the greatest number of collisions, where you have 2 cars trying to come into the Rotary at one time, and sometimes it becomes very difficult for both vehicles to see oncoming vehicles, and as a result of that, sometimes you end up having T-bone type collisions resulting from people coming straight through the Rotary and people trying to come in from Maple Street. So what we're going to be doing at the Chief's request on a trial basis is putting up temporary signs, temporary traffic control barrels to close that approach down to a single lane. To see what the effect is going to be. We certainly know it's going to slow traffic down. It's going to create greater delays than there are now, because we're essentially cutting the capacity of that approach down half by allowing half as many vehicles into the Rotary at the same time. But hopefully we'll be making the Rotary safer, and there'll be a trade-off that may or may not be beneficial depending on the result of the trial. But the barrels we're expecting to be putting in place this Thursday, so in the next couple of weeks we'll start to see some impact and see, how negative the downside of this is, because there definitely will be an impact on traffic without a doubt. And I've tried to tell everybody that we expect, this is not going to make anything. The primary reason is to make it safer, not to improve traffic flow. It will definitely slow down traffic flow. Let's see, I attended the town council meeting on the 23rd of May. The town council approved the townwide operating and capital budgets at that meeting, including the DPW budgets. Relatively small number of people that attended. There were a few department heads there. There were a couple of citizens there. A few of the regular folks that attend most meetings, but beyond that, the meeting was fairly lightly attended. DPW will be seeing, and we're probably one of the most modest budget increases, a 1% increase in our operating budget, except for the Water Enterprise Fund, which will be a little bit higher because we had to cover the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission increase that they imposed fairly late in the game this year. One of the good things we're able to do this year, I think we talked about a little bit before, was we're able to take some of the savings that we realize in our utility budget and reallocate that to our building budget, and that'll help Bruce put in play some of the smaller scale energy efficiency projects that might not get funded by the utility company, that'll be funded with our own funds and be funded directly out of the building operating budget, and realize savings in the utility budget. So when we weren't looking to increase the budget, but to shift monies out of utility that we've been able to realize savings into making additional improvements and achieving additional savings.
So I think I saw the trash budget was in ours this time, and it looked like a 5% increase. So now are you and/or Bruce or others taking an active role in controlling the trash budget, or do they just put it there for us to have in our budget?
Essentially the latter at this point. At this point, the town manager and the health director have been solely involved in curbside pickup related issues. I believe there's a new contract that's in negotiation right now, or at least attempting to be in negotiation with Republic and/or Waste Management might possibly be involved as well. I'm not sure, but I did see that it showed up as a DPW line item, but to date it's not anything that DPW has had any impact on.
Which to me just seems a little disconnected, just from the perspective of, if it's in our budget, it would seem to me we should be active in understanding the negotiation or renegotiation. Otherwise, it should be kept in their budget somewhere. So I saw that, and in the past, the board would have been pretty active in negotiating or understanding how do we save funds additionally in the future to not have it go up and up 5%, because that exceeds any of our desires for annual budget.
It is, and it is the approach that's taken in most communities these days. Historically, it used to be the Board of Health, when communities had landfills, had the landfill responsibility and had the trash responsibility. But as communities have gotten out of the landfill business, most times in most communities, it is the DPW that oversees the curbside collection, whether it's done internally or done externally.
Right.
So I think the approach is a reasonable approach, but to date, we haven't had any involvement in planning for it or.
I mean, I would think Bruce, Roy, somebody's got to become active if it's in our budget. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
Capital items that were ultimately approved, we've talked about a few of these, but just for the record, I'll go through them. They did put back the Maple Street water main project, which is important to get installed in advance of the medical office facility going forward, so that the roadway can get dug up, the trenches can get installed, and things can settle and stabilize before they come back in behind there and do the final paving and restoration of the intersections and corridor. The game plan right now is to fund at least from Westwood through the Dwight intersection to Chestnut to the meter pit. If money is allowed, to go all the way to Savoy, which would replace essentially that entire section, again from Savoy all the way through. We're not certain, because we're looking at the design very quickly this week. We will likely have to do some upgrades to the meter pit and the piping in that area on Chestnut, where we make our interconnection to Springfield. So we're focusing first in the areas that have to get done and completed before the medical office facility. And if we had to stop at Westwood, we've gotten 90% of where we want to be, because that's really where our largest interconnection point is, where there's a loop that comes down to Westwood. So we need to get to there. If we get to Savoy, that's great. If we don't, that's sort of the cushion that we have.
And Savoy is a new main that interconnects all the way around too, right? Which catches, is it Rogers Road? No, it's...
No, that connects to Burt in Westwood, and then it connects to Melwood.
Melwood, yeah.
It's a smaller main. It's more of a local main. It's an 8-inch
But it's
main.
brand new a couple years ago, right?
Yes.
Whereas Westwood is a new 12-inch main that was put in probably 10 or 15 years ago. So it's part of the trunk of our system. So it's important to connect to that. So Maple Street water main was approved to the amount of $640,000. We did receive approval for a new dump truck with a total budget of $225,000. A portion of that is going to be carried by the general fund. What the town accountant and town manager determined was about 25% of that would be covered by the general fund, because it's related to snow plowing activities, and 75% of it, what we had put forward was to allocate that. We have a dump truck committed to the Water Enterprise Fund, and to make that the Water Enterprise Fund designated dump truck. The second half of the Phase 2 closure of the landfill was approved in the amount of $94,200. We did finally, and I know we've asked for it for multiple years, we received funding for the energy management systems at the library and fire station, with a total of $50,000 in funding for that. We did receive funding to replace truck number 13, the F-350 that we've had issues with. To to the amount of $42,663. We received funding to upgrade the traffic light controller and instrumentation at North Main and Harkness, and possibly upgrade the pedestrian signals there as well. It's not a complete intersection upgrade, but it's at least replacing the controller, the electronic equipment in the box, basically, and then going a little bit further to the extent that we can afford it. And that's in the amount of $55,000. Been one of our problematic intersections over the past couple of years. Another project that Bruce will be involved in at the schools, there's a decision made by the town to phase the security door upgrade at the Maple Shades School over 3 years. So there was budgeted this year's phase 1, $35,000, with phase 2 and phase 3 to take place in the next 2 and 3 years. But that at least gets one of the entries done with the full security systems, which are standard now in the school systems. The Meadowbrook School parking lot lighting was funded in the amount of $69,628. The replacement of the generator at the Allen Street pumping station, which I think probably dates back to the 50s or 60s, probably our oldest generator that we have, was funded to the amount of $25,000. And then we did receive funding to replace backhoe number 31, to be split 50% across water and sewer, and the total of that was $131,554. So it was, there's nothing for the DPW to complain about from a capital standpoint this year. It was an interesting approach that the town manager and town accountant seemed to want to try to put fundings essentially across all departments and all facilities. So when you see, Maple Shade got something, Meadowbrook got something, the high school, actually I didn't put this down, the high school received funding for 2 electrical panels, I believe.
Yep.
About $35,000, I think.
Yep.
So that was as I understand it, the approach that they took was to spread it around as much as they could to as many different facilities as they could. And since we oversee capital projects at most of those facilities, we're the ones that are managing most of those projects.
But the dump truck and the backhoe, 2 major purchases, are going through water sewer.
Right.
So it's not coming out of general fund.
Correct. So it was a relatively easy decision to make there. And we're fortunate with, and we've talked about it before, this last year being a very good revenue year for the town in terms of water and sewer revenue, so that there is no bonding being proposed to buy the backhoe or the dump truck. It's all being funded through current cash, which is the best way to go if you can afford to do it. Basically taking the money out of the bank account and paying for it. The Maple Street water main will be bonded. We haven't determined over what time period and rates and things like that yet, but that's more than can be carried in a single year. Although the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund budgets were approved, the water and sewer rates were not approved at the Town Council meeting on the 23rd, really because of some procedural issues, so they're scheduled to take them up at their next meeting, which I believe is the 13th of June. And they'll be as we had proposed and the board had voted on at the last meeting, which is and that's what the budget had been built based on, was keeping the water rate flat at $3.05 per 100 cubic feet and increasing the sewer rate from $2.80 to $2.95 per 100 cubic feet. The next item I want to talk about a little bit is in your packet you'll see a map with map of the town that has a couple of colored areas on it. We have a deadline under our current sewer contract, the end of this June, to submit a map to the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission that basically shows all our connection points to their system, and to identify which of those connection points are currently metered and which one of those connection points are currently not metered. The reason for that is that we pay Springfield Water Sewer Commission in 2 manners, one based on metered flow that's discharged from Vineland Pump Station, and then we pay based on an estimated volume that was developed quite a few years ago for areas in town that were not metered. and as part of the current contract, that is going to be revisited, and there's a good chance the town is going to be required to put meters in a couple of locations where we currently don't have meters. To help you understand what this map shows, where you see the gray shaded areas, those are all those areas that are ultimately are tributary to the Vineland pumping station. So those are the areas that are metered. When you see the other colors, those are the areas that are not currently metered. They're paid for. Whether they're paid for, with the appropriate number or not is yet to be determined. But we are billed for flows to account for those areas, and those two primary connection points are one through the Franconia Golf Course, which you see as connection point A on the map, and you can see the shaded blue areas are the areas that are tributary to Franconia. Then if you see connection point E, which is in the reddish shading, that is up behind Fenway Golf, goes up into a connection point in Springfield, and that's the other significant area in town that isn't currently metered, is paid for, but not currently metered. Most likely, I would expect that we're going to be required to put meters at location A and location E. The other locations are much smaller and are primarily residential development. Let's see, I think D is Forest Hills, I believe. There's a sewer line that runs directly to Springfield there. Fairly easy, it's fully built out. It's probably fairly easy to come up with an agreeable number between Springfield and East Longmeadow for what that billing should be. The other connection point C is, I think, Pondview, primarily,
It's Allen and...
It's on Allen Street, but it includes primarily the, I'm blanking out the street.
Orchard Road.
Orchard
Road pump station.
Yeah, the Orchard Road pumping station, Pondview, Circle, et cetera, comes up through there. Again, that may be an area that we can look at and we can arrive at a number, because it's a fairly small, relatively small number of lots, arrive at a number that's mutually agreeable that could be fixed for some period of years and maybe revisited again in the future.
The two bluebirds come out of there too.
That's correct, yeah. Then, let's see, a couple of other things to point out. On the left-hand side of the map, you see some areas that are shaded in the yellow or orange color. There are some residents in East Longmeadow that flow directly to Springfield and are built by Springfield, and that's what that coloration represents. And then the purple area you see are areas up along North Main Street that are downstream of the Vineland discharge point. So they leave the town through the same pipe that Vineland leaves the town, but they don't flow to Vineland first. So they are areas that maybe have to be captured either. Most likely, again, I think we could likely come to a mutually agreeable number. So I think the metering focus is primarily going to be connection point A and connection point E. Certainly are the two that jump out. So that'll be going in at the end of June. There's no real incentive to submit it any sooner. Once Springfield Water and Sewer receives it, they have the ability to then, based on the information we provide them, to require us to put in meters or to attempt to negotiate an agreeable volume. Once they make that determination that we need a meter, we have a year to put the meter on. We do have funding that was approved at town meeting quite a few years ago that was put in place to put meters in if necessary. So I think from a budget standpoint, we're probably in reasonable shape. But it will have an impact, and we've talked about it for a couple of years now. I do expect an impact on our future costs. Staying on the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission, we are communicating more with Water and Sewer Commission. In fact, every week now they're sending us a report of a couple of their key water quality parameters. One thing that came out of the exceedance that we had was we recommended that improved communication would help both parties in the future to have a better understanding of what each party is doing. And Mass DEP has issued I'm not certain if it'd be called, I think it's a notice of non-compliance as a result of the exceedance that we had, that we are required to either commit to improved communication or commit to another approach to avoid a future exceedance. And again, I think it's really, the biggest issue is us being able to know what they're doing and know about what they're doing as they're doing it or before they do it, as opposed to after they do it and it's too late for us to make any adjustments. So I expect that we'll be going forward with the approach where we both parties agree to communicate more with each other. As I said, it's been working. We've been sending information back and forth on a weekly basis now, and at least we have a better understanding of what they're doing, and that's beneficial to us so we can then make adjustments if needed. We are doing our quarterly round of THM, trihalomethane sampling in the middle of March, so we will know by the end of this month and I do expect that the exceedance that we had was a one-time event, and keep my fingers crossed that we'll find out by the end of this month that through this improved communication and coordination of strategies that we've been able to put this issue behind us, but we'll know better in a couple of weeks. A couple of other things. We had a new skilled worker start today. We've talked about this gentleman in the past, a gentleman named Eric Hurlbert, coming to us from the Summers DPW. Just as I said, started today. Good thing is he's not green. He's coming from another DPW. He knows a lot of what we already do. So
I had him working right out of the catch basin right off the bat.
Good.
So it's good to have him on board.
And we're making progress on our pumping station operator. Our in-house candidate, Brian Waldron, completed his coursework last week. I expect that he passed his course.
He did. I heard today he did pass.
Good to hear. And his next step is to take sit for the state exam and at least to pass his grade 1 exam that puts him on the pathway. And at that point, then we've agreed with him that we would, on a provisional basis, make him our pumping station operator, providing our second pumping station operator, providing he gets the remaining licenses within 6 months. Last bit of news is that Mike Warner, who you've met a couple of times, he's been a couple of these meetings. He's our long title, but he's basically our GIS, our mapping, our data guy that's been working with Roy very closely to get our web-based work order system going. He will be leaving the town on Monday. Monday will be his last day of work. He's taking a very similar job in the town of Amherst, with a little bit of staff shuffling around. The gentleman that had been in that position in Amherst, a guy named Mike Olkin, who actually had worked for us on a part-time basis, providing some advisory services over the years. He has left Amherst to work for Springfield Water and Sewer Commission as their lead GIS guy. That created an opening that Mike Warner is now going into. So it's going to leave us with the seat open, as we also have the town engineer seat open as of Monday. And that is all I have.
All right, going on. All right. Mr. Henning.
Yes.
Building.
Things are going well. Pine Knoll Camp facility is ready to go for camp this upcoming season. We went through all the buildings in the last few weeks. We placed some doors, some windows, painted some floors. So that place is ready to go. We actually filled the pool on Wednesday last week. Our plumber Joe did that. Filters up and running. Installed some new some shut-off valves on the pump side to help operate the pool a little more efficiently. Instead of priming the pumps every time we shut down to clean the baskets and stuff out, we've installed some shut-offs. So that has worked to our benefit this year. We've actually coming back from vacation, went up there today and showed me how the system works. It works great. And it's 5 minutes time emptying the baskets versus standing up there for a half hour. You lose the prime of the pump and filling it up with a hose. So that facility is up and running and ready for camp. I know Colin and one of his staff people, Brad, I believe his name is going to start shifting some of the swim team events over there. I'm assuming once the weather breaks and gets a little more warm. I know the temperature of the pool's in the high 50s, low 60s. So, like I said, the facility's up and running and ready for camp in the next upcoming weeks. Next thing I have for the board this evening, the Parks Department is doing things great, even though the weather hasn't been too beneficial to the department. We're actually over at the high school getting ready for graduation this Sunday. So the guys are out there trimming bushes, weed whacking, picking up trash. I know Royce sent the paving crew over there last week, I believe, and the week before, just getting ahead of the game, getting potholes taken care of, or any other imperfections in the asphalt. So we're going full steam ahead and getting that place ready for graduation this Sunday. Another item for the board this evening, K&M Fire Protection Service will be completing their work on Thursday this week. So they'll be out of there. The sprinkler system is done. We still have to get the FM 200 system in. That is a dry system for the server room. That's scheduled to get started tomorrow. After that is done, I got to get my fire alarm service company in to get all the flow switches, tamper switches, all those types of equipment in. Then we can get the system up and running and tested and inspected. So, like I said, they'll be done on Thursday this week. The server room people for the FM 200 system probably take roughly a week. Once that's done, I will get Zabul over here to get all the other devices installed. So to complete the project, I gotta say probably two to 3 weeks before everything's done and online. So that's going well. Other than that, the town hall renovations, I'm just waiting for the carpet to get installed in the hallways. For this round of the renovations, we're going to get back into the other bathrooms across from the clerk's office this upcoming late fall, winter season, so to complete that renovation project. So everything's going as planned. I'm also finalizing the vehicle PM list through our vendors. I received one as of Tuesday this week, or today. I'm still waiting for 2 other vendors. I'm waiting for Napa and Palmer Tractor Supply to get their information to me. We should see a significant drop in our vehicle PMs because we're not doing our hydraulic services or transmission services this year. We do those every other year. So some preliminary numbers. I've reduced probably the cost. It's going to be roughly around, I got to say, 16 to 20,000 versus 30 to 35,000. So we'll see some significant savings there. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Want to mention council and aging boiler or?
Oh, yes. So over the winter, we've had actually a section on the rear end of the boiler over at that facility. It's been leaking, usually only during startup. It's a steam boiler. Usually after you get the system hot and the system ready to go, it usually expands the metal and everything else, and that usually subsides. But this year it did not. We had a slow leak the entire winter, but we got through the winter. We had Clark HVAC come in last Monday, replace 2 sections, but found we had to replace a couple more sections. So he's actually completed that work. It's all back together, tested and holding the water well. So we made it through this winter again with not any really big hiccups. Roughly the cost of that, we've paid for the first 2 sections, I believe, are about $5,000. So we're going to have an additional $5,000 cost plus some of the labor that will be billed to us in the upcoming weeks.
Okay. Highway?
If you notice in front of you, I have a packet here. With the help of Mike, we're moving from the old work order system to the new work order system. So currently, I have about 40 work orders left in the old system. Now, on the new system, on your first page, these are it's color-coded by the kind of a work order they are, and you can see the list on to the right. Some are marked out, some are water, sewer, it's kind of broken down. When they first come on the system, they're a triangle, and that means they're not assigned yet. And then as I assign them, they become a diamond. If they're deferred, they're a circle, and if they're completed, they're a square. So these are all squares, so these are all completed ones. And you can see they're GPS, so you can see where they are in the town. And the color will tell you what type of work order they were. So these are all the ones that are completed. On your second page is just a blow up of the same thing, so you can kind of see where they are and what kinds of work orders they were. So, as I said, these were the completed ones. The next page is an actual breakdown of what types they were. And also on the old work order system, I added, which you don't have, but I added the ones on the old work order system. Like for instance, on the berm, there's 28 that were completed on the new ones. We did another 23 on the old one. On the lumen seat, it was 36. On the old work order system, we added another 47. So. Pretty soon we'll be done with the old system and we'll be totally on the new system.
One of the advantages is it's pretty difficult to forget about something when you can give this map stares at you constantly and you see what's done, what's left to be done. It's not done by memory. It's all logged in. It's all records are kept when the issues come in, when they're fixed, what status they happen to be in. If somebody calls up to inquire about them.
You can also add pictures of what it looks like, so it's on the record, before and after pictures if you want. The next page are in the shape of a diamond. These are the ones that are assigned, and so you can see the different color coding of what types of work orders they are. And the page after that is 2 pages, is a breakdown of what types they are.
We've been working on getting the work order system set up. Some of the reporting systems we haven't got fully customized yet, so what you're seeing here are essentially print screens of what Roy can see in front of him. There's more sophisticated reports that we can customize to report on whatever, whatever we might want to see that look, prettier and
Right. This is just
what you see here.
A summary of and then the last page is there are circles. These are catch basins that are deferred, so they're not real critical right now. But I don't want to forget about them. And as we get caught up with the critical ones, we can start repairing these.
Oh, Shaker Road, huh? Is that Shaker?
Yeah, Shaker, Pease Road. Well, as we send the catch basin cleaner out and they're removing the debris and taking the top off, you can get more of an idea of what's going on with the basin. And if they need repair, it goes on the system at that point.
And some of these can strictly be internal, repair, regrout bricks and things like that. The basin isn't failing. You wouldn't know it's a problem from looking at it, but if we don't do it now, it will become a problem in the future.
So is this more representative of where you've been doing the cleaning?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay. So as you get more through the town, this will grow.
That's right. We're trying to go for the streets that are going to be any work being done on them for paving and so forth. So anyway, this just gives you an idea of.
Have you done Kibbe?
Yes. Oh, yes, we have. Okay. Yeah, Kibbe. We've done all the critical basins. We had maybe 4 or 5 that had fallen apart. And we did a rebuild of those, but there's not a lot that are left there. You can see the ones that are complete or the ones that are deferred. There's still some that's got to be done.
And Mill Road, I think, has 3 basins or 4 basins on it, so it's not very extensive. Where Kibbe does probably has 20 or 30 across the entire length.
So I'm hoping that for our next meeting, the old system will be totally gone and we'll be totally on the new system. So it's working out, very well, because as the girls will get a call, they put an address on, and we know exactly where it is. And each basin and hydrant have a GIS number. So so if there's 2 basins side by side, you know which one. And the same with hydrants, and it just makes it easier. And then it's tracked as you're working on it. And then throughout the following years, you can go back and see, if this is an ongoing problem or whatever. And this is for sewer blocks, for meters, for any kind of work order. It's got a trend.
And you can do things where if there's something of interest that you want to bring to somebody's attention, you can have the system send a person an email. So
Yes.
Roy, for instance, last week sent me an email. We had a sewer backup that I've got to discuss with the party that we think might have been responsible for the sewer backup. So as a result, in the work order system, once the backup was taken care of, he was able to generate an email that went out to me as a reminder and a report, basically, that then I can take to the individual and have a discussion.
So there's a lot of things we still have to explore with the system, but it's working out, very well.
I think the guys are generally using it pretty heavily. It's
performing or not, the guys at first, it's a new kind of a thing, but they were getting very comfortable. They're asking me questions, and they're really, it's cutting out the middleman. Because if I have if there's a catch basin, for instance, that is reported, the person that's cleaning the basin reports something. So then it gets onto on the system. If it's a critical, it goes to someone that's going to repair it. When he's done with it, he creates a work order for berm or for paving. And the way we have it set up, it's anything that's paving or lumen seeding or markouts, as soon as the work order is created, automatically goes to the person who's going to fix it. So they get it on their phone, they get it on their tablet. There's not someone that's got to assign them everything all the time. And the other things that are deferred stay in the system where I can, assign them as needed. It all depends on our workload. As far as sweeping is going, we're going to be doing some line painting. So. By a contractor, so we're trying to get all the mains all done. So we're just about done with that. And we also have summer help is out painting fire hydrants, signposts, straightening them up. We're done with the parade route now. We're finishing up on all the mains, trying to get those all done. As far as the future goes, we're going to be working on the parade route, getting that all painted. We already, started doing the fog line, the crosswalks. We'll get that all continued. We're helping Bruce with graduation with the paving, as Bruce mentioned. We're almost done with the lumen and seeding in the berm. I expect another week and a half we'll be done with that. And then we're going to be doing some tree work coming up, and also continuing with the catch basin cleaning. So that's all I have right now.
We take care of that cul-de-sac for the individual. He's happy with what we did. He came to our meeting.
Oh, yes.
So,
in fact, he called me after the work was done to thank me for getting it done. So I think we're in good shape.
nice.
Yeah, so it's...
All right. Good.
Anything else? All right, the next Board of Public Works meeting will be Wednesday, June 14th, 5 o'clock at the service building. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.